let's take a moment to consider the vast weight of honesty, not just any honesty, but that which requires us to stand face to face with ourselves. So often we construct elaborate images of who we believe we are, or perhaps who we'd like others to think we are. But deep down, there's a part of us that yearns to be seen without the masks. For when we can gaze upon ourselves without judgment or expectation, we encounter a state of profound peace. We live in a world where we are surrounded by mirrors, both literal and metaphorical, reflecting images of what we think we should be. These images are molded by expectations from family, friends, society, and even ourselves. The result: we start to create personas, multiple layers of who we believe we are or aspire to be. These personas can feel so real that we often mistake them for our true selves, but they are illusions, carefully crafted masks rather than authentic expressions of our being. We might build these illusions because they offer a certain comfort. They allow us to fit in, to be liked, to meet the world's expectations. Yet beneath the surface, something essential is lost. This illusion often begins early in life. We are conditioned to adopt certain traits and attitudes, believing they will bring approval and success. We might suppress our natural tendencies, mask our vulnerabilities, or adopt habits that aren't true to our core because we think they align with who we need to be. Over time, these adaptations solidify and we grow attached to this constructed self, wearing it as armor to navigate life. But what happens when the illusion becomes so strong that we lose sight of who we really are? The layers of this false self are built piece by piece, each one a response to a demand or desire outside of us. We wear these layers like protective coats, presenting the world with a version of ourselves that feels safe. For instance, someone might adopt a tough exterior to shield their sensitivity, hiding behind it so convincingly that even they forget the softer part of themselves exists. Another person might take on an air of perfection, constantly striving to live up to an unrealistic standard, fearing that anything less might reveal flaws they feel ashamed of. This illusion, however, is fragile. It is a house of cards built on external validation, and with every gust of reality, whether in the form of loss, rejection, or failure, the layers begin to crack. Often, it's in these moments of upheaval that we catch a glimpse of the truth beneath. A person might realize that the career they've been chasing doesn't actually fulfill them, or that the relationships they maintain feel empty because they are based on who they think they should be, rather than who they actually are. The illusion of the false self is seductive, because it feels safer. But this safety is a trap. To live behind a mask is to live at a distance from oneself, forever feeling slightly disconnected, slightly incomplete. There's an underlying sense of unease, a gnawing feeling that something is missing, because this illusory self cannot sustain the weight of true fulfillment. Authenticity, while sometimes challenging and vulnerable, is the path to that fulfillment. Only when we begin to strip away these layers, discarding the traits and habits that do not belong to us, do we start to encounter who we truly are. In releasing these illusions, we allow ourselves the freedom to live authentically, untethered from expectations, and in a way that aligns with the rhythm of our own soul. Self-awareness is a profound and essential element of human life, a quiet yet powerful force that allows us to truly understand who we are at our core. When we engage in self-awareness, we begin a journey inward, peeling back the layers of external conditioning and expectations to access the unique combination of traits, values, and passions that define us. It's a journey that is often marked by moments of profound discovery, where we come to recognize our patterns, preferences, and responses. We see not just the parts of ourselves we are proud of, but also the aspects we may have been reluctant to face. This acceptance is key, as true self-awareness isn't just about identifying the positive traits, but also acknowledging the areas where we may struggle, allowing for a more balanced and authentic understanding of ourselves. In daily life, self-awareness manifests as an ability to observe our thoughts, emotions, and actions without getting lost in them. It's a bit like being both the actor and the audience simultaneously, seeing ourselves in action and understanding the motives and intentions that guide our behaviors. This conscious awareness gives us the power to respond to situations instead of reacting impulsively, which often leads to better outcomes and more harmonious interactions with others. For example, if a person is aware that they tend to react defensively to criticism, they can catch themselves in the moment, choose a different response, and potentially transform a confrontational situation into a constructive one. In this way, self-awareness helps foster a greater sense of control over our lives, as we are not simply drifting from one reaction to the next, but are actively choosing our path. Self-awareness also illuminates our strengths and weaknesses. By understanding what we naturally excel at, we can leverage these abilities to pursue goals that align with our true potential. At the same time, recognizing areas where we may struggle allows us to approach these limitations with humility and curiosity, opening the door to learning and growth. Instead of being discouraged by our weaknesses, we can view them as opportunities for personal development, seeing them as part of our journey toward becoming a more complete version of ourselves. Self-awareness has a way of deepening our relationships with others. When we understand our own emotional triggers and biases, we become more empathetic and compassionate. We're less likely to project our insecurities onto others, as we can recognize when those insecurities arise and manage them internally. This inner clarity leads to more authentic connections because we're approaching relationships from a place of wholeness rather than seeking validation or approval. By becoming aware of our needs and boundaries, we are better equipped to communicate them honestly, fostering trust and mutual respect with those around us. Self-awareness is the foundation for lasting personal growth. When we know who we are, we can set meaningful goals that resonate with our true values and aspirations. This alignment between our goals and our inner selves fuels motivation, making it easier to stay committed to our pursuits. Rather than chasing fleeting desires or external markers of success, we are guided by an inner compass, which provides a sense of fulfillment that external achievements alone cannot offer. Self-awareness is a gateway to living a life that is in harmony with our deepest selves. It allows us to navigate life's challenges with grace, to embrace our unique path, and to cultivate a sense of inner peace that radiates outward, positively impacting both our lives and the lives of those around us. Accepting imperfections is one of the most liberating and transformative steps we can take toward genuine self-understanding. From a young age, society teaches us to strive for perfection in many areas of life appearance, success, relationships, and even personality. However, this drive for perfection often comes at a cost. It creates a rigid framework that excludes the richness of human experience, an experience that is inherently messy, complex, and flawed. When we pressure ourselves to live up to an idealized standard, we not only set ourselves up for disappointment, but we also deny ourselves the ability to fully embrace who we are. By learning to accept imperfections, we can begin to cultivate a deeper connection to ourselves and to life itself. Recognizing that perfection is a myth is the first step. Despite what we might see in media or social narratives, no one is perfect. Each person carries within them unique strengths and weaknesses, talents and limitations, and these contradictions are what make us human. The quest for perfection often leads to stress, anxiety, and a persistent feeling of inadequacy, as we constantly measure ourselves against an unattainable ideal. But once we acknowledge that perfection is not the goal, we can start to release the heavy burden of expectations that keeps us from being authentic. This realization gives us permission to breathe, to be exactly as we are, without the constant need for improvement or validation. In accepting our imperfections, we also open the door to greater self-compassion. Many of us are our own harshest critics, quick to judge ourselves for our perceived flaws and mistakes. This internal judgment can be relentless, fueling feelings of guilt. However, when we learn to accept our imperfections, we shift our perspective. Instead of viewing flaws as failures, we see them as opportunities for growth and learning. For instance, if we make a mistake, instead of berating ourselves, we can approach it with curiosity, asking, "What can I learn from this?" This kinder, more forgiving approach allows us to build resilience as we no longer see setbacks as defining moments, but rather as stepping stones on our journey. Accepting imperfections also enriches our relationships with others. When we are comfortable with our own flaws, we become less judgmental of others. We recognize that everyone is navigating their own challenges, and that no one has it all figured out. This understanding creates empathy, allowing us to connect more genuinely with the people in our lives. We become more patient, understanding that the imperfections we accept in ourselves are mirrored in those around us. Instead of striving to present a flawless facade, we show up as our true selves, fostering deeper, more authentic connections. Furthermore, embracing imperfection encourages us to take risks. When we no longer fear making mistakes or failing to meet an unrealistic standard, we become willing to step outside of our comfort zones and try new things. The fear of failure often holds us back from pursuing our dreams or exploring our passions, but when we accept that mistakes are part of the journey, we can approach life with a spirit of adventure. This openness to risk allows us to grow, to expand our horizons, and to experience life in a fuller, more vibrant way. Accepting imperfections is not about giving up or settling for less. It is about understanding that true fulfillment lies in embracing the full spectrum of who we are. Life is far richer and more rewarding when we can approach it with honesty and self-acceptance, acknowledging that our imperfections are just as valuable as our strengths. In fact, these imperfections are often where we find our most profound lessons, as they reveal parts of ourselves that we might otherwise overlook. In the end, it is this balance, the ability to see ourselves wholly, without judgment, that brings us peace, resilience, and a deeper appreciation for the imperfect, ever-evolving journey of life. Facing discomfort is an essential, though often overlooked, pathway to true freedom. Discomfort, whether emotional, mental, or physical, is something most of us instinctively avoid. We are naturally inclined to seek comfort, safety, and predictability, often constructing lives designed to minimize the pain or unease that discomfort can bring. However, in this pursuit of a pain-free existence, we may inadvertently create a cage around ourselves, limiting our growth and potential. Facing discomfort, instead of avoiding it, opens up the door to a more expansive way of being, where we are no longer governed by fear or limited by our desire for security. To confront discomfort is to embrace a certain level of vulnerability. Discomfort often emerges when we are faced with unfamiliar situations, challenging emotions, or daunting tasks. It could be the unease of stepping outside our comfort zone in pursuit of a dream, the anxiety of addressing unresolved personal issues, or the pain of confronting past mistakes. These situations bring up feelings we would rather not experience, yet they are also the situations that teach us the most about ourselves. By willingly stepping into this discomfort, we become more aware of the limiting beliefs and fears that we have allowed to shape our lives. This awareness is key because it gives us the power to change, to grow beyond our old limitations. Facing discomfort also builds resilience. Each time we choose to confront something that scares us or challenges us, we strengthen our capacity to handle adversity. Resilience is not developed in moments of ease, it is cultivated through perseverance in the face of difficulty. When we face discomfort head-on, we come to understand that we are stronger and more capable than we previously believed. For instance, someone who has a fear of public speaking may initially feel intense anxiety about speaking in front of others. However, by gradually exposing themselves to this fear, first through small gatherings, then perhaps through larger groups, they build the resilience to cope with and eventually overcome their anxiety. This process is empowering because it shows us that discomfort does not define us, rather. Our response to it does. Discomfort acts as a guide to personal transformation. Often the areas in our lives where we feel the most discomfort are precisely the areas that need our attention. These discomforts signal unresolved issues, unaddressed emotions, or goals we have not yet pursued. By facing these areas, we can uncover the root causes of our discomfort and work to address them. This journey is rarely easy, but it leads to a deeper understanding of ourselves and what truly matters to us. For instance, someone who feels dissatisfied in their job may initially ignore this discomfort for the sake of stability. However, by exploring that dissatisfaction, they might realize they have a passion for a different field. Following that discomfort could ultimately lead them to a career that feels more fulfilling and aligned with their values. In facing discomfort, we also free ourselves from the constant need for external validation. Many people seek comfort by aligning with societal norms or the expectations of others, even if doing so means sacrificing their own truth. This reliance on others for validation can become a form of bondage, where our sense of self-worth is tied to how well we fit into others' standards. However, when we face discomfort, especially the discomfort of being misunderstood, judged, or rejected for being true to ourselves, we gain a sense of inner freedom. We become less reliant on external opinions and more rooted in our own values, finding comfort in authenticity rather than approval. The practice of facing discomfort is an act of liberation. It enables us to confront and dismantle the invisible walls that have kept us small, hidden, or afraid. When we allow ourselves to feel the full spectrum of discomfort, we open ourselves up to the full spectrum of life. We discover that discomfort is temporary, a fleeting sensation that passes, while the growth and freedom it leaves behind are lasting. The more we face discomfort, the more we cultivate courage, self-awareness, and resilience, qualities that serve as the foundation for a life lived fully and freely. By embracing discomfort, we step into our truest selves, discovering a freedom that lies not in escaping challenges, but in rising to meet them with strength and openness. Authenticity is one of the deepest forms of inner peace, a calmness that arises not from external conditions, but from the alignment between our inner world and our outer expression. In a world that often rewards conformity and social masks, staying true to oneself is an act of courage. Yet when we choose to live authentically, we begin to experience a unique peace that cannot be found through validation or approval. Authenticity invites us to shed the layers of who we think we should be, embracing who we actually are with acceptance and honesty. In doing so, we tap into a profound sense of wholeness, a unity within ourselves that nurtures an enduring inner tranquility. Living authentically starts with self-awareness, the willingness to see ourselves clearly without judgment or pretense. We often adopt certain behaviors, beliefs, or even entire personas to fit in or to be seen a certain way. These adaptations can initially provide a sense of safety, but they eventually create an internal dissonance. When we act in ways that are incongruent with our true selves, we are constantly monitoring ourselves, adjusting and self-correcting, which drains our energy and creates stress. Authenticity, on the other hand, requires no mask or performance. It is a return to the self, a place where we can simply be without the need to impress or justify. This shift from performance to presence fosters a sense of peace, as we no longer expend energy trying to be someone we're not. Authenticity is also a powerful antidote to the fear of judgment. Much of the anxiety we experience in life stems from worrying about how others perceive us. We fear rejection, criticism, or disappointment, and so we try to mold ourselves into someone acceptable. Yet this constant concern with others' opinions leaves us unsettled, as we are forever trying to fit into a mold that isn't truly ours. When we commit to authenticity, we begin to release this fear. We acknowledge that not everyone will accept or understand us, and that's okay. By embracing who we are, we come to a place of acceptance within ourselves, making it easier to let go of the need for external approval. This acceptance fosters an inner peace, as we no longer feel the need to conform to expectations that don't align with our values or beliefs. Authenticity deepens our relationships, leading to more genuine connections with others. When we are open and honest about who we are, we invite others to do the same. This creates an environment where relationships are based on mutual trust and respect, rather than on superficial interactions. Authenticity allows us to show up fully in our relationships without hiding or pretending. In this way, we experience the joy of being truly seen and accepted for who we are, which brings a profound sense of contentment and peace. Authentic relationships are a refuge, a place where we can relax and let go of the need to impress or perform. This ease translates into inner peace as we feel supported and valued for our true selves. Authenticity also brings clarity to our choices and actions. When we are true to ourselves, we are better able to identify what genuinely matters to us and what aligns with our values. This clarity guides our decisions, making it easier to say no to things that don't serve us and yes to what does. Instead of being pulled in different directions by conflicting desires or societal pressures, we follow a path that resonates with our core. This alignment brings a sense of purpose and direction, allowing us to move through life with a peaceful confidence. We become less susceptible to doubt or regret because we are living in accordance with our inner truth, trusting that each decision is an authentic expression of who we are. Authenticity frees us from the burdens of pretense and judgment, allowing us to live in harmony with ourselves. It offers a lasting peace that cannot be shaken by external circumstances because it is rooted in the certainty of who we are. By embracing our true selves, we cultivate a relationship with ourselves that is grounded, accepting, and whole. This inner peace becomes a foundation for every other aspect of our lives, providing us with the strength to navigate challenges and the grace to appreciate moments of joy. In authenticity, we find a peace that is quiet yet powerful, a peace that emanates from within and radiates outward, touching everything we do. The path to inner growth and fulfillment is a journey that each individual must take in their own way, but it often begins with the recognition that something within us seeks a deeper sense of purpose and understanding. In a world filled with distractions and external expectations, we may go through life seeking fulfillment in things outside ourselves: career success, possessions, approval from others. Yet true fulfillment is rarely found by adding more to our lives. Rather, it emerges through inner transformation, through deepening our connection with ourselves and discovering what genuinely matters to us. This journey is not one of accumulation, but of stripping away what is false, a gradual unfolding that reveals the essence of who we are and what we are here to contribute. Inner growth begins with self-awareness. To grow and fulfill our potential, we must first understand who we are beneath the roles we play and the masks we wear. Self-awareness invites us to examine our beliefs, habits, and thought patterns, many of which are unconsciously shaped by our upbringing, society, and past experiences. By becoming more conscious of these influences, we can begin to make choices that are aligned with our true values rather than simply reacting to external expectations. This process of self-reflection is often uncomfortable, as it may reveal aspects of ourselves that we would rather avoid. However, it is through facing these parts of ourselves with honesty and compassion that we create the foundation for true growth. As we deepen our self-awareness, we begin to recognize the limitations and fears that have held us back. Inner growth involves challenging these limitations, allowing us to step beyond our comfort zones and confront our inner obstacles. For instance, many people carry a fear of failure or rejection, which prevents them from pursuing their dreams or expressing their authentic selves. By confronting these fears, we develop resilience and courage, essential qualities that enable us to live more fully and authentically. Each time we face a fear or limitation, we expand our sense of what is possible, empowering ourselves to live a life that is true to who we are. Another essential aspect of inner growth and fulfillment is the cultivation of self-compassion. As we strive to improve and grow, it's easy to become self-critical, especially when we fall short of our own expectations. However, growth is rarely a linear process. It is filled with setbacks and challenges that test our resolve. When we approach ourselves with kindness and understanding, we create an environment in which growth can happen naturally. Self-compassion allows us to learn from our mistakes rather than be discouraged by them, nurturing an inner support system that carries us through difficult times. This self-compassionate mindset helps us build a deeper, more accepting relationship with ourselves, which is essential for lasting fulfillment. Inner growth also involves finding a sense of purpose that goes beyond personal gain or achievement. When we connect our actions to a purpose greater than ourselves, whether it's contributing to the well-being of others, protecting the environment, or fostering creativity, we experience a profound sense of fulfillment. The purpose gives meaning to our efforts and provides direction, helping us stay focused and motivated even during challenging times. It shifts our perspective from what can I get from life to what can I give. This shift is transformative, as it frees us from the constant pursuit of external validation, anchoring us in a deeper sense of contribution and connection. In seeking inner growth and fulfillment, we ultimately cultivate a state of inner peace that comes from living in alignment with our true selves. As we grow, we become less reactive to life's ups and downs, finding stability in our own sense of purpose and self-understanding. This doesn't mean we become immune to challenges or pain, but rather that we approach them with a balanced and grounded perspective. Inner growth brings a profound sense of freedom, allowing us to live with authenticity and clarity, guided not by fear or societal pressures, but by our own inner compass. And through this journey of self-discovery and purpose, we not only find fulfillment within ourselves, but also contribute to the world around us in a meaningful way. In conclusion, the journey toward inner growth and fulfillment is a path that invites us to look within, embracing authenticity, self-awareness, and purpose as our guides. It requires us to face discomfort, accept imperfections, and cultivate compassion for ourselves along the way. True fulfillment comes not from external achievements, but from a deep alignment with our own values, desires, and truths. When we walk this path, we experience a profound sense of freedom and inner peace that radiates outward, enriching our lives and positively impacting those around us. By committing to this journey, we not only uncover the essence of who we are, but also realize our unique potential to live meaningfully, fully, and authentically. What does it mean to be ruthless? Most hear the word and imagine cruelty, aggression, or heartlessness. But that is not the ruthlessness we seek. True ruthlessness is a precision of mind, a clarity of purpose, and a refusal to cling to illusions. It is the power to let go of what no longer serves you, to cut through the noise of the world, and to burn away what is inessential. To be ruthless is not to be harsh, but to be honest with yourself and with life. It is a journey to your core, a shedding of masks, and a dance with the flow of existence. Ruthlessness is not the brute force of a clenched fist or the sharpness of a harsh word. It is something far more elegant, more profound. It is the art of precision, the unwavering clarity that comes from seeing life for what it truly is, without the filters of fear, attachment, or wishful thinking. To be ruthless is to wield a scalpel, not a sledgehammer. It is not about destroying, but about discerning, separating what is real from what is merely noise. True ruthlessness requires courage, not the kind that braves storms for the sake of vanity, but the kind that faces the storm within, the turbulence of self-deception and doubt. Imagine a sculptor chipping away at a block of marble. Every strike of the chisel is deliberate. Every fragment that falls away brings the true form closer to light. This is what it means to be ruthless. It is the willingness to let go of what does not belong, to release the parts of yourself and your life that obscure your essence. This is not an act of violence, but of liberation. It is a kind of mercy, for what is false only burdens the soul. By cutting away the inessential, you reveal the truth that has always been there, waiting beneath the surface. We often mistake ruthlessness for aggression because we live in a world that equates power with domination. But ruthlessness does not seek to dominate, it seeks to understand. It is not about conquering others, but about conquering the illusions within yourself. Aggression lashes out blindly, fueled by anger and insecurity. Ruthlessness is calm, focused, and deliberate. It is the stillness of a mind that sees clearly, unclouded by fear or ego. In this stillness you find a strength that is unshakable, because it is rooted not in force but in truth. To be ruthless, you must first learn to let go. This is perhaps the hardest lesson of all, because we are taught to cling to our identities, our possessions, our ambitions. We are told that holding on is what gives life meaning. But in truth, it is the act of letting go that frees you to live fully. When you let go, you create space for what truly matters. You begin to see that much of what you held on to was never yours to keep. The tighter you grip, the more life slips through your fingers. Ruthlessness is the wisdom to open your hands and trust the flow of existence. This kind of letting go requires a radical honesty with yourself. It demands that you look at the stories you tell, the roles you play, and the masks you wear. Who are you beneath all that? The ego will resist this question because it thrives on attachment and illusion. It wants to be needed, to be important, to be right. But ruthlessness is not interested in what the ego wants. It is interested in what is real. And to find what is real, you must be willing to destroy the false. This is not destruction for its own sake, but for the sake of clarity. It is the burning away of dead wood so that new growth can flourish. Ruthlessness is also a kind of humility. It recognizes that you are not in control of everything, nor should you be. There is a paradox here. By letting go of control, you gain a deeper power, the power to align yourself with the natural flow of life. This is not passivity, but effortless action, the kind of action that arises when you stop forcing and start trusting. Think of a river carving through rock. It does not force its way, but moves with an inevitability born of alignment with its purpose. This is the essence of ruthlessness. It is not forceful, but it is unstoppable. When you embrace ruthlessness, you begin to see the world differently. You stop chasing what does not matter and start focusing on what does. You stop fearing loss because you understand that nothing real can ever be lost. You begin to live with a kind of lightness, unburdened by the unnecessary. This is not an easy path, but it is a freeing one. It requires discipline and courage, but it offers a reward that is worth more than anything you could ever cling to, the freedom to be fully, authentically yourself. And in that freedom you will find a power that no force in the world can shake. Letting go is one of the simplest yet most profound acts we can ever undertake, and yet it is also one of the most challenging. The very phrase letting go feels counterintuitive in a world that teaches us to hold on to our achievements, our relationships, our possessions, and even our pain. We clutch at life, desperate to preserve what we believe defines us. And in doing so, we often strangle the vitality right out of it. But there is a quiet wisdom in the act of release, a kind of strength that comes not from holding on, but from surrendering. To let go is not to give up, it is to understand that clinging to what cannot be controlled only leads to suffering. Consider the river. Its flow is effortless not because it is weak, but because it understands its nature. It does not cling to the rocks or try to resist gravity. It moves with purpose, yet it does not force its way. When obstacles appear, it doesn't stop, it simply flows around them, over them, or through them. This is the essence of letting go, a trust in the natural course of things, an alignment with the rhythm of life. It is not about passivity, it is about harmony. When you let go, you stop resisting the current and allow yourself to move with it. And in that movement you discover a new kind of power. Letting go does not mean you stop caring or that you become indifferent to life. On the contrary, it allows you to engage with life more fully. When you release your attachment to outcomes, you free yourself from the chains of expectation and disappointment. You begin to act not from a place of fear or desire, but from a place of clarity and authenticity. This is where true creativity and freedom arise, not from the desperate need to control, but from the openness to explore and experience. In letting go, you give yourself permission to be present, to respond to life as it is, rather than as you wish it to be. The greatest obstacle to letting go is fear. We fear loss, change, and the unknown. We fear that if we loosen our grip, we will lose something essential. But this fear is rooted in illusion. Nothing in life is truly ours to hold. People, possessions, even our own identities, they are all transient, ever-changing. The tighter we cling to them, the more we suffer when they inevitably slip away. Letting go is an act of faith, not in something external, but in life itself. It is the recognition that change is not the enemy, but the essence of existence. Paradoxically, the act of letting go often leads to a greater sense of control, not the control that seeks to dominate or manipulate, but the control that comes from alignment with reality. When you let go, you stop fighting against the natural flow of life and start moving with it. This doesn't mean you abandon effort or intention. It means your efforts become more focused, more effective. You stop wasting energy on battles you cannot win and start channeling it into what truly matters. Letting go is not the absence of action, but the absence of struggle. There is a profound freedom that comes with letting go. It is the freedom to be yourself, unburdened by the need to prove or possess. It is the freedom to experience life as it is, not as you think it should be. When you let go, you are no longer tethered to the past or weighed down by the future. You are fully here in this moment, where life is actually happening. This is the gift of letting go. It brings you back to yourself, to the present, to the truth. Ultimately, letting go is an act of love. It is the love that releases rather than clings, that trusts rather than controls. It is the love that allows things to be what they are rather than what we wish them to be. This love is not a weakness but a strength, a quiet resilience that cannot be shaken. It is the love that says, I do not need to hold you to have you, I do not need to possess to cherish. When you let go, you are not losing anything. You are gaining everything. You are opening yourself to life in its fullness, to its beauty and its mystery. And in that openness you find peace. Detached from the false self, they say, as though it is as simple as shedding a layer of clothing. But the truth is, the false self clings to us like a second skin, woven from years of conditioning, expectations, and fear. It whispers that it is who we are, that without it we are nothing. Yet deep down we sense that this isn't true. There is a quiet voice beneath all the noise, a steady pulse of authenticity that calls us to return to it. To detach from the false self is not to lose yourself, but to rediscover the essence of who you have always been. It is an act of courage, for the ego does not surrender easily, and it is an act of love, for the self you uncover is waiting with open arms. The false self is born of our need to belong, to be accepted, and to feel significant. It begins as a mask, something we wear to fit in, to shield ourselves from rejection or judgment. Over time, we forget that the mask is not our face. We invest so much in this image that it becomes a prison. We define ourselves by our roles, achievements, and possessions, believing that these external markers give us value. But the more we cling to these things, the more we drift from our true nature. The false self is always hungry, always seeking validation, because it is built on a foundation of lack. It cannot be satisfied because it is not real. Detaching from the false self begins with awareness. You must first see the mask for what it is, a construct, a story you have been telling yourself. This is not an easy realization, for the ego will fight to maintain its illusion of control. It will tell you that without these stories you are nothing. But this is the ego's greatest lie. The truth is that you are far more than any role you play or any image you project. You are not what you do, what you own, or what others think of you. You are something deeper, something infinite and unchanging. To detach from the false self, you must be willing to confront the uncomfortable truths about yourself. This requires honesty and humility. You must look at the ways in which you have allowed fear and pride to shape your life. You must acknowledge the attachments that no longer serve you, the beliefs that limit you, and the wounds that you have used as excuses to stay small. This process is not about judgment, but about liberation. It is about peeling away the layers of illusion to reveal the truth beneath. As you let go of the false self, you may feel a sense of loss. This is natural, for you are saying goodbye to something that has been a part of you for so long. But this loss is also a gain. It is the beginning of freedom. When you detach from the false self, you are no longer bound by the need to prove yourself or to meet others' expectations. You begin to act not from a place of fear or obligation, but from a place of authenticity and love. You are no longer driven by the ego's endless hunger, but by the quiet wisdom of your true self. Detaching from the false self also means letting go of the need to control how others see you. This can be one of the hardest parts of the process, for we are deeply conditioned to seek approval. But the opinions of others are not your truth. They are reflections of their own perceptions, biases, and fears. When you stop trying to control these reflections, you free yourself from the exhausting cycle of validation. You begin to live for yourself, not for an audience. This journey is not a one-time event, but a continuous process. The false self will try to reassert itself, especially in moments of doubt or insecurity. But each time you recognize its voice, you gain strength. Each time you choose authenticity over illusion, you come closer to your true self. This is the power of detachment. It is not about rejection, but about return. It is about coming home to yourself, to the wholeness that has always been there. In the end, detaching from the false self is not about becoming someone new, but about remembering who you are. It is about stripping away the lies to reveal the truth. It is about living from a place of integrity and love, unburdened by the need to impress or conform. And in that space of authenticity, you find a freedom that no mask could ever offer. You find the joy of being yourself. Life is full of paradoxes, and one of the most profound is the concept of effortless action. It seems counterintuitive. How can action, something we associate with effort and willpower, also be effortless? Yet when you observe the natural world, you see this principle everywhere. A tree does not struggle to grow, it simply grows. A bird does not strain to fly, it glides through the air as a natural expression of its being. The river does not force its way to the sea, it flows with a quiet inevitability. This is effortless action, the art of aligning with the flow of life rather than resisting it, of moving with purpose and grace rather than force and struggle. Effortless action does not mean inaction. It is not laziness or passivity. Instead, it is a way of engaging with the world that is free from unnecessary tension and resistance. It is action that arises naturally from a place of clarity and alignment. When you are in this state, you do not have to push or force. Things seem to fall into place with a sense of ease. This is not magic or luck. It is the result of being in harmony with yourself and the world around you. It is the power of being attuned to the rhythm of life and allowing that rhythm to guide your actions. The key to effortless action lies in letting go of control. We are often taught that success requires constant effort, struggle, and sacrifice. We believe that to achieve our goals, we must dominate circumstances, force outcomes, and bend the world to our will. But this approach often leads to frustration and exhaustion because it is at odds with the natural flow of life. The harder you push, the more resistance you encounter. The more you cling to a specific outcome, the more elusive it becomes. Effortless action, on the other hand, is about trust. It is about trusting yourself, trusting the process, and trusting that life will unfold as it should. This does not mean that you abandon your goals or desires. It means that you approach them with a sense of openness and flexibility. You set your intention, take the necessary steps, and then let go of the outcome. You do not cling or grasp, you allow things to unfold in their own time and in their own way. This is not giving up, it is giving space. It is creating room for the unexpected, for the possibilities that you may not have imagined. When you stop forcing and start trusting, you often find that things work out in ways that are even better than you had planned. Effortless action also requires presence. When you are fully present, you are able to respond to life as it is, rather than as you think it should be. You are not distracted by past regrets or future worries. You are here, now, fully engaged with the moment. This presence allows you to see opportunities and solutions that you might otherwise miss. It allows you to act with precision and grace rather than with haste or panic. Presence is the foundation of effortless action because it connects you to the flow of life. There is a deep wisdom in this way of being, a wisdom that the mind often resists. The mind wants to analyze, strategize, and control. It wants to predict and prepare for every possible outcome. But life is not something you can control or predict. It is something you experience. The more you try to control it, the more you create friction and resistance. The more you allow it, the more you discover its natural ease and flow. Effortless action is about shifting from the mind's need to dominate to the heart's ability to trust. In practicing effortless action, you cultivate a sense of inner peace. You realize that you do not have to fight your way through life. You do not have to struggle to prove yourself or to earn your place in the world. Your worth is not determined by how much you achieve or how hard you work. It is intrinsic, inherent, and unchanging. When you understand this, you are free to act not out of fear or need, but out of joy and purpose. Your actions become expressions of who you are, rather than attempts to become something you are not. Effortless action is a practice, a way of being that you cultivate over time. It is not always easy, especially in a world that glorifies struggle and hustle. But the more you align yourself with this principle, the more you experience its power. You begin to move through life with a sense of ease and confidence, knowing that you are supported by something greater than yourself. You stop forcing and start flowing. And in that flow, you find a strength and serenity that no amount of struggle could ever provide. Life often feels cluttered, overwhelming, and full of noise. We accumulate so much possessions, commitments, expectations, and even thoughts that we lose sight of what truly matters. In the pursuit of more, we forget the beauty of simplicity. But there comes a point when the weight of all this excess becomes unbearable, and we realize that the answer is not to add, but to subtract. To burn away the inessential is to clear the path to what is real and meaningful. It is a radical act of self-liberation, one that requires courage, clarity, and a willingness to let go of what no longer serves you. The first step in burning away the inessential is to pause and reflect. Ask yourself what truly matters to me. What brings me joy, purpose, and peace? These questions cut through the surface distractions and force you to confront the core of your being. The answers may surprise you because they are often simpler than you expect. It is not the endless accumulation of wealth, status, or achievements that fills your heart, but the small, profound moments of connection, creativity, and love. When you reconnect with what is essential, you begin to see everything else for what it is: noise, clutter, and distraction. Burning away the inessential is not just about physical things, though that can be a starting point. The material world often reflects the state of our inner world. A cluttered home mirrors a cluttered mind. To begin by letting go of what you no longer need: clothes you haven't worn in years, objects you keep out of obligation, and anything that no longer resonates with who you are now. This act of decluttering is not just practical, it is symbolic. As you create space in your physical environment, you also create space in your heart and mind. But the deeper work lies in burning away the internal clutter. These are the habits, thoughts, and beliefs that weigh you down and keep you stuck. Look at the stories you tell yourself, the ones that say you are not enough, that you must achieve more to be worthy, that you must be everything to everyone. These stories are not truth, they are chains. And to burn them away is to reclaim your freedom. This process is not easy. The ego clings to these narratives because they feel familiar and safe. But safety is not the same as fulfillment. True freedom lies on the other side of letting go. Burning away the inessential also means examining your relationships and commitments. Not everything and everyone deserves your time and energy. This does not mean you should be ruthless in a harsh or selfish way, but rather that you should be intentional. Ask yourself, does this relationship uplift me or drain me? Does this commitment align with my values? Or is it something I agreed to out of guilt or obligation? It takes strength to say no, but every no is also a yes to yourself, to your well-being, and to what truly matters. This process requires you to face the discomfort of letting go. There is often resistance because we equate letting go with loss. But letting go is not about losing, it is about gaining. When you release what no longer serves you, you create room for what does. You make space for growth, for creativity, and for the things that truly nourish your soul. It is like clearing a garden of weeds so that the flowers can thrive. At first it may feel barren, but soon you begin to see the beauty and abundance that was hidden beneath the clutter. Burning away the inessential is not a one-time event, but an ongoing practice. Life has a way of accumulating clutter, and it is up to you to continually assess and recalibrate. This practice keeps you grounded and aligned with your true self. It allows you to live with intention rather than being swept along by the currents of distraction and societal expectations. Each time you let go, you strengthen your connection to what is real and meaningful. In the end, burning away the inessential is an act of love. It is a declaration that your life is too precious to be filled with anything less than what truly matters. It is a commitment to living authentically, to honoring your values, and to embracing simplicity. This does not mean your life becomes smaller. On the contrary, it becomes fuller. When you strip away the excess, you discover a richness and depth that was always there, waiting to be uncovered. You find joy in the simplicity, peace in the clarity, and freedom in the space you have created. And in that freedom, you can finally be yourself,